I'm Suzi Landolfi, and welcome to Be Crazy Well. Now, why would a therapist say that? Because we all have mental health struggles, even therapists. The good news is we have so much more information about how we can be crazy well. On my podcast, we don't focus on what's wrong with us. We want to know what happened to us. We're going to explore how trauma affected us, both negatively and positively. That's right. I said positively. It's called post-traumatic growth, and it's a real thing. Be Crazy Well will share mental health wellness practices, the newest mental health research, and most importantly, how we all get to create the person we deserve to be and the life we deserve to live. So join the mental health evolution and be crazy well.
To see within is to know yourself.
So here, cheers. You have your coffee. What are you
Oh,
drinking?
yes. Just straight black.
Oh, of course you are. I'm eating
Oh,
oatmeal.
yeah.
I'm eating oatmeal. You're drinking black coffee. That ought to tell the listener something, right?
Oh, yeah.
there you
Straight
go.
black coffee. That's my breakfast.
Oh my God, Becky. Everybody, I'm listening. Well, first of all, I just want to tell everybody, because I just start recording, because why would I miss all this great stuff? I hate when people like do a recording and then they go like, let's make this perfect now, make this.
Oh,
What?
yeah.
Why would we do that? It makes
No, you want it as genuine as possible, right?
exactly.
Oh,
So you
yeah.
get your black coffee and I have my oatmeal because I'm so old. Like that's what
Uh,
we don't know, right? Keeps us regular, you know?
yeah.
Right. You and I have tried to do this a couple of times,
Yeah.
only because I don't know anybody that does more in their life with less limbs and fingers
Yeah.
than you do. If you can watch, everybody, you have to watch this podcast. I mean, we are recording it and they do watch it, but the fact remains is I am
Oh, yeah.
to a man that has figured out shit that most of us are even afraid to think about. I'm going to say that again. Doc, you have figured shit out better and more than most of us would even dare to think about or consider. Okay.
Yeah.
So I am
Well,
speaking with Doc Jacobs. I'm going to ask you, and of course, the only reason the other I asked you is because if I have a podcast called Be Crazy Well, I got to bring on the craziest well people I know.
yeah.
You're right up there, Doc. So
Well, I got to tell you, one of the most recent compliments that I got was from the VA. So I called the prosthetic clinic to get an appointment to get my my left leg. I need a new socket. I've had this one for over a year now, and it's still comfortable, but I'm still shrinking down even after 16 years of the amputation. And they were like, "Okay, well, how's your other leg doing? How's physical therapy going?" I said, "I haven't gone to physical therapy. I haven't done one appointment." And they were like, "Wait, you haven't done one appointment, or how are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm good. I've been walking for a week now." And they were like, "Wait, what? How are you walking? You're supposed to do physical therapy." And so they set up a virtual meeting for me on the 14th, and I have to like just set my camera down on the ground and walk in front of the doctor to prove that. And they were like, "Nobody ever does this. Every amputee always has to do physical therapy." And I said, "Well, I mean, I don't need it. I know what I'm doing. I've done it before." So I just went and I just threw the crutches away one day and started walking. And they were like, we don't believe you." So
once I
yeah,
got on, keep going. Where
so
you
there's the crazy, right?
there's the crazy well and
Yeah.
crazy beyond well. You know what I mean? There's one thing.
Hmm.
Well, I say everything's like salsa, mild, moderate, or severe. Right? You're
Oh,
severe,
yeah.
well, you're severe crazy well because you're going to do shit like I said, most of us wouldn't even consider. So
Oh, yeah.
everybody doesn't know the story, so they don't actually. Once they hear the whole story and then realize what you just said, then it's really going to go. What? He had the other one. Never mind. So let's
Yeah.
start from the beginning.
Okay.
Tell us the story. You know, you're a veteran. Tell us the story of you in the military, and then what happened, and then what recently happened. So
Okay.
can we do that?
Yeah.
All right.
So Doc Jacobs. I joined the military in 2004. I went to boot camp, Navy boot camp, August 2004. And then I went through all of my training, Corps school, field med, combat trauma school, and then had my orders to go to Ramadi, Iraq. September 2005, I deployed September 2nd and got into country September 4th and was exposed to combat pretty much right away. As you know, a lot of veterans know how Ramadi was in 2005. Um, my first patrol, we were doing the turnover with the 1-5, and I didn't even have night vision goggles, NVGs yet, and we were getting shot at, and I had no idea what the hell was going on. So just stayed close to that corpsman, and we did our turnover and everything. And one of my other first times in combat was not even with my guys. We had a unit come in and said that they needed a doc right away, and they had a insurgent at a checkpoint who had a 9 mil round in his neck, and they needed me to go out there and just keep him alive so they could interrogate him. And so I went out there, and that was my first one of my first experiences. So it was literally just jump in the fire. So um, soon after that, I kind of got well established in Ramadi, and kind of got in a groove with the guys and everything. And then 6.5 months later, after 225 combat patrols, I was riding in the rear gun truck of a Humvee, and we got hit by a triple stack of 155s, a roadside bomb. It was controlled detonated, and I did some crazy shit that day. I was nominated for a Silver Star, got bumped down to a bronze. There's still fights with the headquarters Marine Corps about that. But yeah, even after I had a fracture to my neck, fracture to my back, blown eardrum, mangled fingers, shattered forearm, my legs were mangled and bleeding. I still put tourniquets on myself, radioed in my position, and climbed out of the Humvee. The Humvee was on its side, and I was sitting behind the driver. Climbed out of the Humvee, started getting shot at by a sniper, and I started yelling at the sniper to purposely draw fire his way or my way, and that allowed one of the Marines enough time to get smoke grenades and throw smoke grenades to conceal cover for the other guys out of the courtyard to come get us out. And so then I had my guys place me against the wall of the casualty collection point, and I started to work on one of my other Marines who was bleeding out of his leg. Gave him 10 milligrams of morphine while I was trying to figure out how to get a tourniquet out of my pocket. And I was trying to get the pocket open, but I didn't realize my fingers were so mangled at the time. And so I'm trying to get the pocket open, and I couldn't figure it out. And so then I realized my fingers were mangled. So I was sitting there staring at them, and then I just like ripped the index finger and I just pulled it off, and I just threw it into the courtyard next to us. And then I just used my pinky finger and I just opened up the pocket, got it out, and then I just put it on him. And then told the other corpsman what he needed to do and how to remain calm and listen to my voice while I guided him to do life-saving maneuvers on another Marine. And then at that point, the quick reaction force guys got there, they got us out. And I continued to refuse medical care and gave my Marine that was already hit, the one that was in a lot of pain, I gave him another 10 milligrams of morphine, and then we got evac'd out, and then went to Charlie Med, where they quickly assessed us, and the helo was already inbound, so they just checked me for any internal bleeding or anything, and just sent me on my way. And then I got to Balad Surgical, and when I got to Balad Surgical, I intentionally waited 2 hours to go into surgery, because I knew that everyone else needed to go into surgery and that I was fine, and that I couldn't feel the pain. So I was like, hey, I'm fine. Just, I'll deal with it when it happens. And then I get into surgery like 2 hours later. I was the last one in. And then I woke up in Bethesda with my dad standing over me. So that was that was the crazy intense moments there. So yeah.
When you woke up, what did you think this What was told to you?
When I woke up, I honestly thought that my legs were gone. Um, just because I knew the damage that was done to them. And I told my one of my buddies in the back of the Humvee when we were getting over to Charlie Med, I told him, I said, don't be surprised if the next time you see me, if I'm missing one or both of my legs. So I was trying to like mentally prepare my Marines for what they were going to see when they saw me back in the States. And so he was like teary eyed. He said, no, no, you're going to be fine. You're going to be, and so when I woke up, I couldn't move anything. I was just so swollen and in pain. And my dad told me that when they because he and my grandmother met me in Bethesda and before the plane even got there. And he said that they wheeled five of us past in the lobby. And he said that he didn't even recognize me. He went to the quarterdeck and he's like, "Where's my son? Where's my son? I didn't see him. He was supposed to be on that." And they were like, those were the five. Those were the five that were scheduled to come through. And he's like, "I didn't see him. That's not my son." And I was just so swollen and ballooned up. And kind of luckily that my dad didn't recognize me, because then I coded in the elevator going to the ICU. And so, yeah, so luckily my dad and my grandma didn't see that. So, but unfortunately, one of my buddies who was working in the ICU, he was a corpsman as well. He was he was there and he greeted me and he was in the elevator, so he had to see that. And so I feel bad that he had to see that, but at least I was able to come back. And he took care of me and made sure that I was good. But he took care of like all of the guys that I sent home. And I would, when I could call, I would say, "Hey, I got a guy coming home. He's heading your way," and he would just take care of the families and everything. So very, very blessed for that.
Had they amputated your leg at this time?
No,
Not
no.
yet.
So
You had
so
both
both
legs
of
at this time when you wake up.
yeah. So I had both legs, and my dad was there, and my dad refused to be the one to sign the papers to amputate. And he said that that's my son. I'm not going to be the one that does that. If that's something that he does, that's a decision that he has to make. And my dad said, he made it this far with his legs, so obviously surgeons along the way thought that there was hope. And so for 3 months, I held on and I did a lot of rehab recovery, like inpatient in the hospital, and a lot of surgeries. I think I had 32 surgeries in 3 months. And so, and a lot of those were like wash and clean outs because, yeah, I'm sure you've heard how they eat the bacteria and everything. Um, so I still have my legs for that time. And then when I transferred out to Balboa, the Naval Hospital out here, I did, what was it? An additional like 5 months I held on to my leg. And while I did a lot of research and I talked with other amputees and trying to figure out what procedure would work best for me, because I was in a lot of pain. I had the chronic neurogenic pain, and it, I would have to take pain medicine just to put on a sock. Like it was just, yeah, so much pain. And I'm telling you, I was on so much medication that I was like a zombie. I was on gabapentin, methadone, and oxycontin. Like I was just, yeah, I was a zombie. And I said, I can't live like this. And so then I found out that the military, they only give you 18 months to get better, or they retire you, they medically separate you or retire you. And so I said, you know what? I want to stay in, I want to continue on. So I can't live like this. I'm not going to be wheelchair bound for the rest of my life if I don't have to. So I just made the decision, and I after 8 months of being injured, I finally let it go. So
And how long? Let's just talk about what you did between that time that the leg was removed to now.
mhm.
Give us a little highlight. By the way, we're going to let everybody know that you have a book that we're
Yeah.
also trying to promote, and I'm going to put that in the bio section so they have to read
Okay.
it, click on it. Um, because there's a part of me that believes they might not believe this, right?
Oh yeah,
If
yeah.
someone went through the book and, said, no, this is good to go, that they'll actually believe this. Because there are some people right now, Doc, going, wait. He ripped off his index finger.
Oh yeah.
Threw it in the courtyard. Like they're going to remember that line. He ripped off his index finger, threw it in the
Oh
courtyard.
yeah.
Okay. In order to put a tourniquet on somebody else. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go to, you have the leg removed and then you have to learn a whole bunch of stuff.
Yep.
Okay. So take us sort of through the highlights of the next few years or so.
Okay. So soon after I had my leg amputated, we were, all of us wounded guys at Wounded Warrior Battalion, the detachment at Balboa, were sitting around in formation, and these like peppy, like probably 20s looking girls are in there, and they're like, oh yeah, hey. We're just kind of like, who are these people? Why are they so cheerful? We're here, we're injured. Like,
leading squad, right?
yeah, we're like, what is going on? Is this like some USO tour thing? And so then they let these ladies talk, and they were like, who here wants to do a marathon? And everybody just kind of looked at each other like, are we being punked right now? Like, what the heck? And everybody's on crutches, on a scooter and wheelchair, like everything that you can think of. And so they were like, no, you can hand cycle a marathon. And we are like, hand cycle, what? So a lot of us were just like, yeah, sure, whatever. We'll fly to Miami. Okay, you talked us into it. We'll fly to Miami and hand bike a marathon. Okay, cool. So we do that, and that got me hooked into marathons. And so I hand cycled marathons. I did Miami, New York, DC, Boston, Chicago, LA, Berlin, like San Diego. I won first place in San Diego, which hometown, right?
Yeah.
So third place in Chicago with one contact gone. And so I just, so from then on, I was just like, you know what if I can run a half marathon? Like, let me see if I could run a half marathon. So they signed me up. And so I've ran the Detroit half marathon 7 different times now. I've ran the San Diego marathon once, and I've run the Disney World half once. And so my best time is 2 hours and 33 minutes as an amputee, which is the first time I've ever ran a half marathon.
Right.
Yeah.
I've run a marathon. So I ran my first one at 60, right? I'm now 73. I'm trying to stay good so that I can do Boston. The time keeps going up.
Oh yeah.
Right. So I want to do Boston. Maybe we'll do it together because.
Oh yeah.
Except you.
I'd love to run Boston.
Yeah, you'll have to help me. So okay, so wait a minute. So you did that, and I cut you off. You did 2 hours and what again? Say that again.
2 hours 33 minutes as and
an
that was my first time ever running a half, and even as an amputee. So I was like, okay. And in my mind, I was competing with myself because they told me 4 hours is the cutoff. They said then the bus comes behind, and if you're not in front of that bus, then you got to get on the bus. And so in my mind, I didn't keep track of time. I just went for it, and I just thought the bus was behind me the whole time. I just was just going. And so my buddy and I, we ended up with 2 hours and 33 minutes. And so we kind of got a feel for that. And then we've kind of stayed around 2 hours, 40 minutes on average now. So,
that's not, I mean, like, you didn't stop there because that's not what you do. So what did you do next, Doctor?
Yeah. So I continued on with active duty, and
let's just say that again. You continued on with active duty. Okay. Got that. That doesn't usually happen, does it, in the military with an amputee?
Not in the Navy. The Marine Corps and the Army were more open and accepting of that. The Navy, not so much. So they sent me to the School of Infantry as a test trial. So I would be out in the field hiking North Camp Pendleton multiple times a week and doing 20K hikes with full gear like everybody else. And so I did that for a year and a half, and Then I went on special assignment to Wounded Warrior Battalion. This was like at the height of Afghanistan, 2009, 2010, 2011. And they said that they wanted a corpsman with Purple Heart who could relate better to the service members coming back. And so I went on special assignment there, and I think under my care at any time, any given time, I had about 3,500 service members that I constantly kept track of their appointments and all of that stuff. And so when my time came from there, I went back to 1st Marine Division, becoming the first amputee in naval history to ever serve with an infantry unit. So yeah, which I know is crazy.
Well, remember, it's be crazy well. So
Yeah.
you're right in the right, area now. Okay, so first person, say that sentence one more time so people can hear that.
Yeah, first amputee in naval history to ever serve with an infantry unit. So that was with a lot of pushback from the Navy, but I eventually made it happen. And what I wanted to do there was go teach at the combat trauma school because I have over 60 confirmed life saves. So might as well, right? I thought I'd be a good asset to them, but
right. Use your camera.
But then the Navy had political plans for me. They said, "Oh no, you need to go to Afghanistan. You need a refresher." Like I don't, yeah. So yeah, like I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, you need I don't know how they said that with
Yeah.
a straight face or gay face, because I don't care what your face is. But I mean,
Yeah.
for someone just to say that,
Oh yeah.
like me saying, no, you have to go and make sure that you can grow more gray hair, or grow more
Yeah.
wrinkles. Like I don't have enough already that proves I know what I'm doing. Keep going.
Yeah. It was almost like hey, you know how to ride a bike, but you haven't ridden a bike in a month, so we need you to have a refresher before you go to. And the thing that like really threw me off.
Yeah.
Huh?
I said I can't think of anything more hurtful. I'm
Oh yeah.
therapist hat on now, and I'm going, what the hell?
Oh yeah. Well, and the worst part was there were people in the like instructors in there that had never served in combat that were teaching combat trauma. And here the Navy's like, well, you need to go to Afghanistan. We'll send you over for 3 months. We'll send you over for a 3-month refresher. And I said, okay, hey, whatever you guys want me to do. And then they come back and say, well, you're taking Mobic for arthritis. You can't be on blood thinners in a combat zone. And I was like, okay. So I talk to pain management. They put a nerve stimulator in my leg to cover the peripheral nerve, to cover the knee pain. And while I'm on convalescent leave from that, I get a text message that says, you still require surgery, so you can't go on deployment. So yeah. So I said, okay, I'm done here. So I just said, I'm gonna,
all that you did,
yeah,
and that's the gratitude you got.
yep.
No idea. Like, never mind. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. Keep going, because I'm.
So I said, okay, I'm gonna go medically retire. I'm gonna go take my services elsewhere. So I go through the process. I get my VA rating, and while I'm doing that, I go through the mind transition that every veteran goes through, right? Like, what am I doing? This is all I know. I'm going out into the big unknown. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know how to transition. And 2 weeks later, I meet Tommy Lasorda from the Dodgers, and I'm introduced to him as an amputee baseball player by one of my buddies, and I'm like, stop embarrassing me, bro. So Tommy Lasorda looks at me.
In high school, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So Tommy Lasorda says, what's the fastest that you've ever hit? And I said 92 miles an hour. And he was like, okay. He said, well, why don't you come come out to the Dodgers camp and we'll have a look at you. And I was like, okay. So yeah, February 28, 2013, I did a tryout with the Dodgers. I made it to the second and final round. I didn't get signed, but from there, the White Sox, they talked with me and they said, well, how come you didn't try out with us? We share the same facility with the Dodgers. And I said, well, I was being very respectful to Tommy Lasorda. That was a special invite, and to the Dodgers and their fan base. I didn't want to disrespect that. And so, if you guys want to have me out, I would love to come out. And so I flew to Birmingham. I think it was either June that year or 2014, but I did 2 tryouts with the White Sox in Birmingham, and I did one with the Brewers, and yeah. So hold on, I did 5 tryouts. Yeah, oh, and then the Tigers too. So I traveled around the country doing that. I was doing Paralympic volleyball at the time. Um, and so I kind of had that good transition into what I was going to do, and that was help veterans with their transition and finding their purpose again. And so um, in 2015, I had a tryout. I won't name the team. I had a tryout lined up with their GM and assistant GM, and then they ghosted me, and I came to find out that it was because I was 29 years old, about to turn 30, and they were like, you're too old essentially. And so yeah, and so I talked to my buddy in that organization, and because I was training with him here in Carlsbad, and I was like, bro, I just ran a 4.037, in tall wet grass in Appleton, Wisconsin. Like, I'm pretty fast, a 4.037 and 60 yards. I felt like I was doing pretty good, so so I felt pretty good about that, but then that just kind of like hit me pretty hard that, oh well, you're too old. And so then I was like, well, damn it, now I got to transition again. I got to figure something out. So I got a phone call from another buddy who was like, hey, so you were a medic, you have all this experience. Um, what do you feel about doing government contracting? And I was like, well, shit, man, whatever you guys need me to do, hey, I'm ready to go.
That
And
may
so then I
need
get a
the
phone.
title. Oh, wait, Doc, that may need the title of your second book. Whatever you guys need me to do. You said that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's probably the title of the book. Whatever you guys.
yeah. Which, yeah. So I was like, all right, yeah, hey, whatever I need to do. So then I get a phone call from the Pentagon, and they were like, hey, so we got this company, they need a medic. How soon can you deploy? And I said, well, when do you need me? And they said, well, within 24 hours. So I get a phone call from that company, and they were like, hey, so what special forces teams were you with, and what's your experience? Were you 18 Delta? And I said, no, dude, I don't know where you're getting this information. I said, I was just a regular Navy corpsman with a Marine infantry unit. And they said, well, what's your experience? I said, I was in Ramadi, Iraq, 0506, and I have over 60 confirmed combat life saves. I'll send you my award write-ups. And they were like, that works for us. And so, yeah. So then I get a plane ticket to the small island of Tarawa, which for any veterans or history buffs, the Battle of Tarawa was a 3-day battle in 1943, where we lost over 1,500 Marines and sailors. And so there's a lot of remains still over there buried on the island. And so, but there's also a ton of unexploded ordnance. So that's what they needed me for, was a medic to be over there just in case. And so I said, yeah, sure. Hey, I'll go. So 24 hours later, I was on a plane out of LA to Tarawa, and just into the unknown, just transition and say, hey, I got this. And so from then on, it kind of history from there. I've traveled to Tarawa multiple times. I've been to Germany, Belgium, Italy, doing recoveries, and now I helped start a company, and we're looking at getting contracts to go back over and into Europe and the Pacific campaigns and do more recoveries. So yeah, so I'm kind of all over. I'm an author now. I have another book getting published October 1st. I'm a grad school student. I'm working on forensic science, specializing in investigation. So like you said, be crazy well, right?
Be crazy well. What's
Yeah.
the title of your book so that everybody can hear that, even though we will put it in
Yeah.
post?
So the title of my autobiography is There and Back Again. stories from a combat Navy corpsman. And I'm actually working on part 2 just because a lot has happened since the end of that. And obviously autobiographies are not finished until you're finished. So, and then I started writing a fictional piece throughout the pandemic on karma, purgatory, and witchcraft. And that book is called McCoven. So yeah, I'm currently editing chapter 9 of 12 of that. So my edits are due April 15th. So I'm really excited, and I won't give any spoilers on that, but yeah, I'm just always writing.
So just so you know, because you don't know this about me, my mother's middle name is Putnam. I'm from
Okay.
Salem, Massachusetts.
Oh, okay.
She lived in Beverly, but Salem, Danvers, Beverly, PB, all the same Salem village. I'm a direct
Yeah.
descendant of the witch trial.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that's awesome.
Isn't
So
that
I,
it's great. I was on the
I-
side that was accused of being a witch, which that's happened many times
yeah,
already. I mean, that's happened now, and so I just
yeah,
I was not the side accusing. I was on the side with a Putnam family that was accused.
yeah,
So you're doing all this, and we're going to have to do 2 of these so that we can do one chunk now, and then we're going to go back, because one of the other things you and I believe in strongly is about childhood and how
Yep.
that informs and what that has made you. Hey, whatever you guys need me to do, mentality.
yeah,
The idea of being a caretaker, of taking care of. So we're not going to talk about that today, because I need time for you to be able to share that, because it's so important for people to understand. So we're doing the military and then post-military. And then
yeah,
I'm going to tell everybody we're going to bring you back to do the pre-military, because if we don't honor veterans the entire of your life, we've missed everything. And that's the trouble with the military and the VA. They don't really give
yeah.
a shit about what happened to you before.
Mm-mm.
And they actually don't care that much, as you noticed, after, as much as
No.
they say they do. They say they do, but they really don't. So, and it's not a dig. It's just where their mission lies, is that military service.
Yeah,
So what I need to do now is ask you about what recently happened. So you went through, and we'll get through marriage, kids, all of that next one.
yeah.
But recently something happened that you made a decision, and tell that story about how you got to that moment.
Okay. So as I know I said in the at the beginning about how I got blown up and my legs were mangled and whatnot, and so my right leg was considered a limb salvage, and part of my foot was blown off, and I can show you guys the boots. I actually have the boots here in the house. So so part of my foot was blown off, and the right side. And hold on, let's see, highlight.
So
So
the
I don't know.
outside of your right foot. Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying? Okay, got the outside.
So right there,
Oh
you
my
can see
God.
the boots where they're just like completely destroyed. And these are the actual glasses that were hanging on the on my flak, my actual dog tags and cross that I was wearing that day, and one of the tourniquets that I was carrying. And then I actually have the sock. I don't know how all of this made it back, but this is the actual like war-torn bloody sock from that day.
Oh my God. And what's your alive day?
February 25th.
Just
And then
happened.
that's my shadow box that Gary Sinise Foundation made for me. So, and then also while I have it here, let
And you
me,
actually got to put that in a house that also is given, right?
yes, yes. So we can talk about that.
Right.
Um,
Hold that book up again. Hold that book up.
yeah,
Because I want people to see the cover. Oh, it's a baseball
yeah.
uniform. 27.
Oh yeah. So, yeah. So my right foot, the outside was blown off, and couple different things there. I don't know how all of that made it back. The part of my foot was still in the boot that they didn't clear. They didn't check. So they just stripped me down, bagged up all my stuff, put it in a plastic bag, then gave it to my dad in Bethesda. And so my dad goes back to the Navy Lodge and he's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, we'll do something with these boots. We'll honor, and he sticks his hand in there
Ah,
and part of it, like 3-day old, like
gelatin.
rotted flesh, just like, and my dad was like, really? So, I mean, I don't know if they could have ever put it back on, whatever, right? But yeah, the damage was, so one of my metatarsals was completely obliterated. Um, Obviously shattered and, just destroyed bones. And so my right leg wasn't like in that much pain. I don't know really why, because orthopedic standpoint, it looked like they should have amputated it. And so my toes ended up like just not working anymore and just starting getting like rigid and stuff. So I had those straightened out. My forefoot eventually got gangrene. They had to amputate the forefoot. And then the pinky toe just kept like dislocating itself to fill that gap and everything. And then they tried to put a plate there. And then so eventually I had the pinky toe amputated. So then I was down to 3. And then my third toe was just so rigid that it was like bleeding, rubbing on the top of shoes. And then the bone was like being exposed on the bottom on the fat pad. And so eventually I was just like, just chop that toe off. And so I was down to 2 toes, and then I was just, my ankle started to go. So I had surgery to clean it out. They did microfracture. That didn't work. And so then they did a partial ankle replacement, and then my body wasn't accepting the bone. And so after all of these surgeries, just to try and, put Humpty Dumpty back together again, essentially is what they were doing. Recently, I just said, you know what, enough's enough. I was down to ankle fusion or amputation as my last options. And I said, well, I'm going to be 37. I don't want to try ankle fusion and try that out for like 5 years. And then I'm in my 40s and then trying to deal with an amputation in my 40s. So I said, the time's now. Let's just chop it and go. So the orthopedic surgeon, he agreed. And he said, well, legally, I have to give you your options. I have to legally tell you that, hey, you still have ankle fusion as an option, and here's the pros and cons, and if you want to go with that, and so I said no, amputation, let's go. But that kind of messed with me a little bit mentally, because I knew for the third time in my life I'd have to learn to rewalk again. I would have to learn to walk again, and I would have to go through that recovery phase. And I knew it'd be a phase longer than what I would want, just because obviously 37 years old, and you're kind of getting older, so it takes a little more time to recover. And I'm not 21 when I had my other leg amputated, and how that just kind of was like, oh, okay, cool, leg amputation. And I actually had my right side to really lean on, a sound side. And then so going in and having an amputation done and then having to rely on your other side as your strong side, which is an amputation, and I was like, this is going to mess with me for a little bit. And I didn't want to get into that mentality. But then when it came down to it, I was just like, okay, it's almost 17 years since I got blown up. How much more of me do I have to give? So I was just like, it's always something. It's because the ring finger partial amputation I had done when I got out, my third toe amputation when I got out. And so it's like I've continued to lose parts of me. And so I was just of the mindset of how much more do I have to give? And so that just kind of like messed with me a little bit of like, when is this war going to be over for me?
I want
And
that thing. Hold that thought. How much more do I have to give?
yeah,
It's almost like that's a question that actually we don't know the answer. It's
yeah,
a question, right? At this point, because we still don't know the
yeah,
answer to that. Most people won't ask that question.
yeah.
I need you to know that. That's the courage.
Yeah. And, you know, so I go through, I have the amputation done, and then I'm going through recovery. Everything seems fine.
How long
And
ago is,
then
just so people can put context?
November 22nd. So
This year, this past year of
yeah.
22. Right. It's only March now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And leading up to that, November to November, I had 2 major ankle surgeries. So, well, November of the previous year and then May of last year, 2 major ankle surgeries, microfracture and then partial ankle replacement, right? Which is, those are huge. And so I hadn't been myself. Normally I'm always like running, hiking, doing something. And so that like severely limited me, which I really don't like. So I had to adapt, which I mean, we all do, right?
Yeah,
You
but
know,
it's different. And, listen, as a therapist, what you figured out was the hiking and the running and being outside and being active literally gave you the chemistry that you deserve to have after all that time,
yeah,
right? So your immune system, your hormonal system has been severely assaulted. And
yeah,
it can get exhausted, so it can't give you the dopamine and the oxytocin that you deserve because of the surgeries and the constant assault. And you being able to do what you did, you figured out that you were your own medication. That
yeah,
was your medication, physically, emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually.
yeah. Oh yeah. And so having to adapt, and I bought a rower machine, and you know, it's not the same, but I'm like, I need that physical exertion. I need to work out. I need to feel like I'm still preparing for a war. I need to feel like I'm still like one of the guys. And if the team needs me, so I was just like, I need to just continue on. And, you know, it just kind of sucked. But and then to go into this amputation and have that of like, how much more do I have to give? And it really, really took a toll on me. And especially, you know, around the house when, you know, I go from being such a prominent member of the family and the household to, you know, I could barely make coffee on my own or like carry coffee. And so it just kind of hit me hard for a little bit. And, you know, now obviously I feel better now that I'm walking, and I'm just like, hey, I'm gonna go do stuff. So um, you know, even just like walking and taking my kids to their sporting events, or, you know, like just stuff like that again is just so great. And so it, I don't know. I don't know, but I feel better with the decision now that I'm on the other end and I'm not in pain. And, you know, but it still just kind of messes with you mentally for a bit.
Now, let me ask you a couple of questions that, I'm that person that'll ask questions. They're like, oh, don't ask that. That's not,
Yeah.
I'm that person. Thank God. Counting on, so one of the things I look at, I'm a dancer. I'm getting older, by the way. So,
Yeah.
63. So, like, that happens, right? And I'm different than I was when I was 60, 63, on down. Have you noticed that the prosthetic in any way, now that you've got both of them, do you find a stability there that you didn't have when that right foot wasn't helping out and the ankle wasn't help? Is there anything that you got, not just what more do I have to give? Is there anything you got that you were surprised about?
Yeah, two different things. I feel like I'm pretty stable, especially when I'm walking. I still need to work on like walking down the driveway and stuff, but walking up hills and inclines and stuff, I feel pretty good right now. Um, but yeah, the ankle instability that I had before and the pain, especially the years leading up to the amputation, um, I feel better. Like even right after amputation, I feel way less pain.
Yeah.
So there are significant amount of benefits. Yeah.
And I understand that there's different prosthetics. So now you're
Yeah.
able to adjust the prosthetic to the activity. Is that true?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So there's typically like running legs and stuff. I don't like running legs. just because it just seems more of like a bouncy. And I had arthritis in my left knee, so I just didn't like that. So I run with just regular heel toe.
Mhm.
So
Right.
that's that's what I like, and that's how I trained initially. And so I'm just gonna keep rolling with that. But yeah, you can have rock climbing legs, you can have shower legs, swim legs. So I just, oh yeah, I'm eventually gonna get into water legs before summer just so I can go enjoy the beach with the kids or enjoy a swim. So yeah.
I don't know if you know, he's an EOD Navy, Adam Pop. You ever heard of Adam?
Uh, Probably have ran into him a couple
Doing
times.
100-mile runs. He's a one leg amputee.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and I was standing on the beach with him when I had a whole bunch of EOD guys, and he's standing with one prosthetic leg and holding another. So I took a
Yeah.
great picture. You know, it almost looks
Yeah.
like. And I go, Adam, what are you waiting for? And he goes, well, waves are pretty big and these things sink. I go, wait, excuse me. He goes, yeah, it comes off, it's gone. So I gotta.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I go, wait, who makes a prosthetic leg that sinks? Now that doesn't say something should inflate, right? The minute water should touch it. But anyway.
Yeah, if you feel it starting to fall off, you have like a pull cord, right?
Exactly. Should be able to do something to have its own, life-saving device.
Yeah.
So
Um,
back to the first story though, because let's connect what you told me
mhm.
about the VA. Because see, people didn't realize what they probably thought. Oh, I think he had a amputation. Yeah, of his second leg, not his first.
Oh yeah.
Go back and tell that story again now about what the VA doesn't believe.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So the VA, how they don't believe that I taught myself to walk, and how I didn't do physical therapy. And they had all these physical therapy appointments lined up, and I just, every time I'd get an appointment reminder, I'd just cancel. And then they would call and they're like, "You want to reschedule?" And I said, "No, I really don't." And honestly, like my schedule is just too busy. I just, I know it sounds crazy that I'm too busy for my own healthcare, but
Well, no,
you
but
know,
you are
I,
your healthcare. Like, and
yeah.
so many times, let's face it, you know more about health and wellness
Hmm.
mechanics and all of that. And that is the post-traumatic growth of your military service,
Yeah.
right?
Oh
It's
yeah.
a superpower now that you have.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, especially going from the medical field, which I'm still in as a senior medic for this company and doing stuff. Like I help people rehab. I worked at Wounded Warrior Battalion. I know all about how to crutch walk with both crutches, one crutch and a cane. And so I mean, I didn't just like magically throw the crutches away. I mean, I did, but I knew that, okay, hey, after this appointment, the doctor says 50% weight bearing is tolerated. This is what your x-rays show. Okay, cool. So crutch walk 50% just to get the weight on there. And then, okay, when the doctor says 100% weight bearing is tolerated, all right, crutch is gone. And so, I knew how to do all of that.
So you
But
also
like you
did
said,
something though that's so important that happens in the mental health field, since we're going to talk about that next
yeah,
time you're on. Look, this idea of the medical model is that I can tell you what to do, but I don't have to do it. I can
yeah,
quit smoking, quit drinking, lose 100 pounds. And I can go home and, smoke a carton of cigarettes, drink 2 bottles of wine and eat a whole cheesecake myself. Like I don't
yeah,
have to do, right? So this idea that you actually have somebody that's gone through it, is doing the work,
yeah,
and then succeeding and being effective, I should think in terms of physical therapy and in terms of healing, physical, emotional, and spiritual, you have it all over somebody who hasn't gone through. I'm not saying they're not competent and they're not helpful.
yeah.
The fact remains is the level of hypocrisy is
Oh yeah,
non-existent in your work with other people, right? And I
yeah,
vowed to do the same thing as a mental health expert. I didn't have to be, well, I don't, medical model, I don't have to do what I ask you to do in terms of your mental health. And I vowed I would never be that person.
yeah. Well, and for me, I just didn't want to go into the physical therapy clinic and go into somewhere they're gonna have me sit on a rower machine and row or do stretches and I'm like, okay, I know that I need to do that. So that's what I started doing before I even had the prosthetic was I started working on stuff like that with the resistance band. I would get on the not elliptical, the rower bike, and I would just go through the motion, even though I didn't have the leg on, go through the motion and still move my right residual limb with my left. As so I was going through and just like did my own rehab from day one. So
And
yeah,
you also helped yourself heal better. So we all
yeah,
know that, I'm going to my boxing class, today, because I
yeah,
know that as an older person, the better shape I stay in, a holistic shape, like my
yeah,
core, my back, everything about me helps me heal anything that's coming up.
oh yeah,
If
yeah,
I don't know something's coming, I'm investing in me and my health and my well-being by
yeah,
saying, well,
absolutely. And I that's very similar advice to what a Vietnam veteran once told me. And he told me, he said, whatever you do, don't stop moving. He said, when you stop moving, your joints start to get tight and they start to seize up, and then it's harder to get going again. And I was like, all right, I hear you.
so look, we got about 2 minutes left, and I want
Okay.
people to know that if they if they're like surprised at this story and what you've done, wait till they hear what happened to you even before all of this.
Oh, yes.
Because I think, and I want to say this from the bottom of my heart, we need more disruptors. You're an
Yeah.
outlier, you're a disruptor. And what I mean by that is that this is what most people do. This is what we're taught to do. This is what we accept.
Hmm.
And then there's people like you that come along and go, not going to do that. I don't accept that. This is what
Yeah.
works for me. This is right. And
Yeah.
we deserve to be inspired. All of us, we need more mental health and physical health evolutionaries, I call them.
Yeah.
Revolutionaries, that usually ends up right back to where you started. But an evolutionary is different. You are evolving. The last thing you talked about, oh my, I'm going to have to learn to walk again and transition. Your transition, I don't know if anybody's told you this, but I feel perfectly competent and safe to tell you this, won't ever stop.
Yeah.
Just like the Vietnam vet, if you're going to keep moving, you're going to keep transitioning.
Yeah.
If there's
Yeah.
not an end point here, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, yeah. Well, and like you said, being the outlier, it's like Jay Glazer always says, motherfucker, I'm different.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Be different and be great different, right?
Yeah.
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 That's exactly. And that's what helped Jay and so many other people when they started to try to get in the box. I go, dude, stop trying to get in the box.
Yeah.
The box won't work for you. Right?
Yeah. Because then you're fighting to get out of the box after
That's
that.
right. And that's true.
Yeah.
Doc Jacob,
Yeah.
I can't thank you enough. I promise everybody, because I know I'm going to hear from everybody, when is it going to be on? When I want to hear the other part of the story. So I promise, and because I know it's hard for us to find that time. And I'm glad your furnace is better now. So
Oh, yeah.
we'll do it soon. And everybody, I want you to know that I'm going to put in that post. So all that information about you, and of course, your book. So I'm going to ask everybody to read it. And then when you come back, hold it up again. We got this. There it is. There it is.
Yep.
Well, thank you, Doc. I so appreciate you. And we'll hear the prequel. It's kind of like, you know what I mean? Like what they did with, what was it called? Yellowstone. Now we're seeing what happened before.
Oh, yeah.
We're doing the same with you. So bless you, Doc Jacobs. Bless you.
Well, thank you for having me.
Of course. Take care.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye. Hey, it's Be Crazy Well. And thanks to Calvin Love, by the way, for the theme song. He's a very famous guy.
Love yourself.